Hi, everybody. Dan Illman, Mike Beard. The feature race at Kentucky Downs on Sunday is the 10th. We're going a mile and 5/16 on the turf. It's the Grade 3 AGS Ladies Marathon. $550,000 is the purse. Let's take a look at this field. Some quality fillies and mares in here. The 8 Family Way, probably going to take a lot of beating in this race. She's proven over the turf course, having won this race last year, and she's entering off 3 consecutive graded placings, and she's hit the board in what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 consecutive graded stakes races.
She's certainly the horse to beat. You have to respect the fact that she's already run well over this turf course, because that is sort of a big deal. It feels like every year, and her overall form it stands out a little bit. Dan, I realize that she's not winning many of these races against the top horses in the division, but man, does she acquit herself pretty well.
Keep an eye on our Timeform US Pace Projector. You usually don't think mile 5/16 races at Kentucky Downs with that European configuration. Maybe it doesn't often play to speed, but the one adventuring, a Godolphin homebred, this horse does have speed, and she's making her second start off of a long layoff, and she likes this course.
Yeah, the only time that they ran around it last year as a 3-year-old, she ran really well, and she did it a lot like this Pace Projector's laying it out there. And they put her right up close early. She took charge very early in that race, and she never relented. I think she's a pretty dangerous horse in here, second off the layoff.
Let's talk a little bit more about the number 1 adventuring. She won the Dueling Grounds Oaks last year. She bounced out of that race with a good effort, went third in the Valley View at Keeneland. They tried synthetic. I won't hold that race against her. Off an extremely long layoff, 7.5 months. They found a great spot for her at Mountaineer. It was an off-turf race. She won. I don't think it took a lot of starch out of her. Brad Cox has a fresh horse for the second half of the year.
He sure does. This filly, she's going to have to improve to beat this field for sure. But, you're supposed to look at this horse as a horse who has still a lot of upside. Dan, she's still pretty lightly raced. Only 4 starts on turf so far. She's run well on all of them. And the distance is no problem for her. The course configuration is no problem for her. I think there's plenty to like here.
Distance is luck money's friend. And I have to admit, I'm a big fan of her, but she's kind of lost me. Lots of seconds, lots of thirds. It just seems like she always finds 1 or 2 better. For those that keep the faith, this is going to be the best price she's been in a long, long time.
I think that's a fair way to look at her, too. Obviously, she's going to have to find a way to, finally take a step forward here as a 5-year-old. I mean, is it that hard really to excuse her first 3 starts this year, though, Dan? The Sheepshead Bay over a bog of a turf course where Virginia Joy just went to the front, and this horse was a distant second. Then she runs at Churchill. Those races are easy to throw out so far this year. And then, last time at Delaware over another bog of a turf course where she didn't pick her feet up. She's way better than her last 3 races make her look.
Up next is the 3, Oliviaofthedesert. Now, she has yet to win on turf from 5 lifetime starts, and she did run in the Dueling Grounds Oaks last year. I just couldn't find the excuse. She and Adventuring were up close to the pace, and Adventuring was better than she was.
I agree with that. The start prior to that in the preview for the Dueling Grounds Oaks, she was in against a couple of these horses. Once again, she was no match for them without an apparent excuse. She's never won a turf race. She's never run fast enough on the surface to be competitive. I just thought she was a tough horse to make in here.
I think there are some things to like about the number 4, Flippant, going out for Victoria Oliver, Rafael Bejarano. Under Bejarano, this horse was a dead heat winner of a stakes race at Indianapolis 2 starts back. Last time out in the yellow ribbon, listen. She was in against the West Coast's best turf filly and mare, Going Global. The pace wasn't very fast. I think it worked against her. I've always felt more distance is better for her.
I like them finally stretching her back out. They went long with her once last year. It was an easy win for her. Then they came in and ran against Adventuring in the preview for the Dueling Grounds Oaks, and she ran great that day to win again. And actually won the first 3 turf starts of her career. And she's come back this year and run well in all of her starts. You mentioned the race 2 starts back then. I thought she ran really well in that race. And I like them stretching her back out finally.
Vicky Oliver also has the 5 core values. I know you've been a little bit of a fan of this horse. Now, she ran in the Dueling Grounds Oaks last year, and she was beaten by a couple of these. But A, the yielding turf course might have actually worked against her. And B, that race was controlled for the most part by horses up front. and she tried to rally out of it. I just wish she did a little bit more. I thought her race in the New York 2 starts back was okay against a very good one in Bleecker Street. Kind of got in a little bit of traffic trouble. I was in the paddock watching her in the matchmaker, and she just lost her mind in the paddock. She was very hot. She was very angry. She was not happy, and she showed it on the racetrack. She just didn't fire at all.
Yeah, it didn't run well last time. I'm happy to hear there was maybe some kind of an excuse for it, though. I remain a fan of hers. I have been doing a little bit of chasing so far this year of Corvallis. It hasn't worked out yet. I'm not, quite ready to give up, Dan. I will say I'm with you on the Dueling Grounds Oaks last year. It was yielding turf, and so maybe that's enough of an excuse. But man, she did not pick up her feet. We've seen horses do that at Kentucky Downs before. I just hope she's not one of those.
Disappearing Act comes off a useful effort at Lone Star, her most recent start. Let's take a look at that race. Now, she was the beaten favorite in this field at Lone Star, but Disappearing Act kind of buried down inside. She's going to get up for second. I thought she ran okay under Joe Bravo that day. She probably has to take a slight step forward.
Yeah, I wonder if, she's another one where just getting stretched back out in distance could help her chances here. I didn't necessarily think she had a huge excuse last time. But maybe she's just a mare who's better when they go longer with her.
Stand Tall can win this race, the number 7 for Rusty Arnold. I'm not interested in the race last time out. You mentioned the turf course was very, very soft. She just hated it, it appeared. 2 back in the Kirtana at Churchill Downs. I thought the trip was good, but she fought really hard against a good mare, Temple City Terror. If she runs that race, I think she's very tough in here.
I agree with you. I like her stretching back out, or, I like her over this distance anyway. And, Family Way, who we're going to get to in a minute, is the horse to beat in here. This horse has more than held her own the 2 times they ran against each other. They were hardly decisive victories for Family Way. This horse is 8-1 on the morning line, and she's a contender.
Last year's winner, Family Way, very, very tough in this spot. Obviously, she has all the fast races. She has all the company lines. Last time out, they ran her in the Beverly D. It was over that Churchill Downs turf course that a lot of horses didn't handle. I think she handled it just fine. I just think at that distance, Delika and Princess Grace are better than her. Remember, the Beverly D was running a mile and an 1/8 this year. She's getting a little more ground, and that's what she wants. Plus, her tactical speed should have her, in a decent stalking position.
Yeah, all those things are true. She's just a really rock solid, consistent horse. She certainly classes up well in here. She's already run over this turf course and this distance and run really well. There's just plenty to like here, and she is the horse to beat.
Number 9 is Viburnum, and this horse is in very sharp form right now. She's won her last 2 races, including a score over course and distance earlier this meet. Now, she must improve from a buyer speed figure standpoint, but boy, tough to get a fast final time in a race where they run 3/4 of a mile in almost 1:16, and that was the case last time.
Yeah, she ran well in that race, too, just to get the job done from slightly off the pace. She's run twice over this turf course, Dan, run well in both of those races. They're wheeling her back here on 10 days, hoping to get her to take a step forward here in a really tough spot. I like that they're doing that because it feels like she handles Kentucky Downs, and maybe this is the right spot for her. But, man, she's got to get better. This is not an easy spot.
Top pick time for the feature race at Kentucky Downs on Sunday. We're both going with Vicky Oliver trained horses. Flippant, no disrespect to the favorite in this race. I do believe she's getting a little class relief. Going Global, the horse she ran against last time out, is probably the best turf horse in Southern California. Now she gets more distance.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I took her, Dan. I want her stretching out in this race. I think more distance is good for her. She's very lightly raced still. I do not think we've seen the best race yet from Flippant, and I think she can take a step forward. And if she does, I suspect she's going to be pretty tough.
For our friends watching the feed on DRF Bets or at the track on Sunday, keep an eye on Corvallis' behavior in the paddock because she wasn't good. And I think that took some of the starch out of her at Monmouth. I liked her race 2 starts back in New York. I always thought there was a race with her name on it, and maybe this is it. 4851 for Mike, 5786 for me. It's the AGS Ladies Marathon, the feature at Kentucky Downs on Sunday. Good luck.